topics we're selecting. And of course, more conscious of the content that we will be writing there. Kasi sa mga ibang nagdaan, minsan nininervous talaga yung mga students kasi minsan nagiging technical din yung comments, ano? Nagiging technical din yung panel. Wala kasi, hindi natin napapalik si Dr. Sarol. Si Dr. Sarol, lahat yan, mga statistics na, mga dadali, no? Ibig sabihin, it's a very nice, kasi opportunity, kasi minsan yung faculty mo lang yung titingin sa paper mo, but this time there will be other people who will be preparing. 262 pala, hindi kasali, no? 262, meron kang 262 dyan. Sorry, 261 saka 262. 261. Ayan, so 261, subukan ginagamit yung, ito lang pinabasa ko yung mga posters dito. Dito yung tatlong teachers ng 26 series. Diba? Si Dots, ako, at saka si Betchay. So, kaya ikot na nga si kagad, si Dots, nag-judges na nga, hindi naman pala siya judge niya. Talagang gusto nila, dapat nakikita natin, ba, mga ganda mga konsepto tungkol sa organizational motivation to stay. Meron bagong term ako nabasa ron, emotional. Akala ko delivery, labor pala. Naalala ko na delivery na anak ko lang kasi nag-relate. Kasi nanganak yung aking sitsu. Kaya sabi namin yung aming apo, may apo na kami. Our first apo. Hindi ko masinipot yung isang conference kasi ko, nanganak yung sitsu namin. Hindi ko maiwan. Tama-tama, no? Sabi ko, parang minsan pag-relate ko rin sa ating mga ginagawa. Kasi kung tingnan ko kung gaano nagbago yung isang dog na very playful. And suddenly, pag-deliver niya, so quiet, so caring, so motherly. Di ba? Parang, sabi ko, parang ganda naman sa transformation itong aso. Bakit siya ibang nanay na tao? Parang hindi nagka-transform ng ganyan. Parang ganda pa lang muna matap. Tama siguro yung commercial. May commercial yung oil, engine oil. First we have the car, the first baby. Then we have a dog. And then after the dog, then we have our baby. Siguro magandang alaga muna sila ng dog magpa-baby sila. Doon na nakita nila paano mag-take care. But anyway, back to the relation. Basically, you went through just a regular guy, regular students going around submitting your papers. And suddenly, you're called by Bessie to be more responsible for your paper, to take care of your data, prepare something worthwhile from your data, and share it to the public, and admire your product. Diba? So, don't worry about shortcomings. Maaaring may mga mapapansin kayo. Kasi minsan nakikita lang naman natin yun pag na-print na eh. Maraming gano'n, di ba? Pag na-print mo na sa ako, ay, bakit gano'n? Sabihin, don't worry about it, it's part of the process, but also will tell you what you should be considering later on when you start presenting for your big event. Ano yung big event nyo? Thesis. Di ba? Big event. Comprehensive muna. Comprehensive na those thesis. So, anyway, kahit tatlo pa lang kami nandito, ano na to? 60%, 75% na ito ng NTTC. Dalawa na lang ang kulang. Ganito kami kadami. Ayan. Pero meron tayong isang pinagmamalaki namin PhD student namin, no? So, meron tayong PhD student ng health profession sa EDSI. Okay. Mamaya mag-judge siya. Papakilala siya mamaya. Kasi meron po tayo, di ba, yung meron tayong tawag ngayon na, familiar ba kayo? Baka pagkatapos nyo, tayo ng tawag na PhD by research. Yung ba pinasa mo, no? PhD by research. Ayan, baka pagkatapos yung pula ng HPEd, pasok kayo sa PhD by research. Wala na kayo academics, diretso na po kayo sa PhD. Ayan. At dahil HPEd siya, napunta siya sa NTTC, of course, ang kanyang PhD advisor ay si Erwin. So before we know it, wala kaming PhD, pero may graduate kami. Di ba, nakaka-surprise yan, pero it's really exciting. May bisita ba tayo na dating pa? Ayan. Ayan, kaya tayo ko muna ba? Ha? Ayaw mga po-students. O, di kayo. Para dumami tayo. Yan. Okay, so, again, congratulations. Congratulations to Betchan and congratulations to students. Di ko alam kung anong epekto din sa grades nyo. But definitely, it's beyond the grades, no? It's basic, the whole experience of presenting. Kasi ngayon, di ba part na ng ating graduating sa HPEd ay makapag-present na, no? Kasama na sa ano, makapag-present sa colloquium. Alam niyo ba yun? Na hindi kayo makakapagtapos, na hindi mo na kayo makakapag-present sa ating research colloquium ng UP Manila. Requirement na yun sa bawat student. Yung mga tapos na, hindi na inabutan. Pero kayo, magko-colloquium kayo. Last time, very nice experience natin yung ating mga HPEd student candidate na nag-present sa colloquium. So lahat kayo dadaan na doon. And this should be a very good preparation for you. Okay? Salamat ulit sa inyo and welcome. At babalik na ako sa pagkakain ko ng cheese curls. So let's thank you more.
Thank you very much, Dean Paul Tagana. Actually, right after this, we move on to the poster presentations. So just a little guidelines on the presentation. So each, we actually have 8 posters today. Each poster was made by two students. I think there's one that was made by 3, group of 3 students. Each group would have to assign a presenter. Pero pag nagtanong yung judges in the audience, pwedeng sumagot either of the 2, no? Okay, hindi lang yung nag-present. Okay, so you have 5 minutes to present your paper. And then after that, we have about 7 minutes of question and answer. The judges can ask you questions, and the audience can also ask questions. So we'll be going around there later on. We have our panel of judges is composed of 2 members. Our first judge is Professor Inday, Professor Inday Kabatan. She's a graduate of HPEd also, of MHPEd. Hindi ko rin sabihin ko yan. She's a professor at the College of Allied Medical Professions here in the University of the Philippines, Manila. So, Inday Kabatan is there. The other member is not yet here, but parating na rin ba? The other member is Professor Arnold Peralta. Sinot is also a graduate of HPEd, no, of MHPEd. He's a faculty member naman of the College of Nursing. Here also at the University of the Philippines, Manila. He is also, so like Inday, is pursuing the PhD in Health Sciences, PhD by Research Program here in UP. Not is pursuing his PhD in Education. Nakikita ko siya doon sa Dilinghan. I think his program is in Curriculum Studies. Okay. I think he's in this is his 4th semester, or 3rd semester. So, we'll just wait for him to come. While waiting for not to arrive, the table is set with very unhealthy food. So this is your chance to eat unhealthy food. This is not breakfast, it's snack. Pang grade school. Complete with sexto pa yan. So help yourself while you prepare and while we wait for the other judge. Okay, thank you.
So we'd like to declare this particular Expo open. O, tawag kayo, tawag. Dalawang cut. Yan. Yan. Yan.
Parang may kailangan ka sa dito. Okay. Sige, mag-start tayo sa poster 1.
Dapat magkakaroon dito.
Good morning. I'm Ruth Balmores, and this is my partner, Terry Wagan. So we have our research is about the factors that influence the satisfaction of the residency trainings using the modified learner's perception survey. So learner satisfaction assessment is essential in the improvement of the residency training. And in the Philippines, there have not been a lot of studies regarding the satisfaction of residency training. The LES, which is the Learner's Perception Survey, is a valid survey that has been used by the Department of General Affairs in the US for measuring the satisfaction of residents across all domains of their residency training program. So the purpose of this study is to establish the quality indicators to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the training program using the modified using the modified learners perception survey, which was adapted from the Department of Veterans Affairs. So in this so we have So we determined satisfaction across all 6 domains in the 2 institutions, which is the Medical City and the De La Salle University Medical Center. So the methods, for the methodology, our questionnaires were adapted from the Learner's Perception Survey from the Department of Veteran Affairs. We have eliminated the questions which are not applicable to our institutions. And the survey is purely voluntary, and the identities of the respondents were kept confidential. We have placed the identities in a separate database, and we've only used the aggregate scores to be reviewed. And the questionnaires included the 6 domains of the training program, residency training program, which included the learning environment, the working environment, the physical, the personal, clinical, as well as the patient care experience. So we have asked the respondents to give a satisfaction score using the 5-point Likert scale, and we have to rate the satisfaction as well on the scale of 1 to 100, wherein the 100% is the perfect score. So for the data analysis, we have used the chi-square to compute for the effect of the individual items on the domain score and the overall satisfaction for both institutions. And we have used the statistical value, p-value of less than 0.05. And for the results, we had a total of 65 respondents, 39 from the Medical City and 29 from the De La Salle University Medical Center. The 100% of the respondents from TMC were from the internal medicine department, while from La Salle, there were a mixture of pediatrics, IM, and surgery. So majority of the respondents were in the first year of their residency training, and the results. So the satisfaction was highest in the learning environment, particularly the clinical preceptors, and then the learning experience itself. And they were least satisfied with the physical environment, which consisted of the hospital, everything about the hospital. And so the overall satisfaction was 100%, was high. In TMC, there was 100%. 100% of the respondents were satisfied with the training program. However, in La Salle, there were only a handful who were not satisfied with the training, mostly because of preceptor issues and exhaustion during their training or within their call of duty. And yeah. And for the discussion and
So for the discussion, we think that the findings here in the survey satisfaction will help us in improving the quality of training program, in residency program per se. Since the survey satisfaction is a crucial component of the residency training program, including the clinical, theoretical, the quality of skills, and relationship with the colleagues. Although with the findings here, overall, there is satisfaction in both of the studied hospitals. There were a handful of residents that were dissatisfied, particularly with their interaction with the clinical consultants and preceptors, such as not all of them are being available. There were no timeliness of the feedback, and some of their personal experience was there's no balance of personal and professional life. Of course, the issue always of the workload was not reasonable, an acceptable level of stress, fatigue, and there was no ownership and personal responsibility for patient care. We think that more satisfied residents, more happy MDs would lead to a successful training, and successful training would lead to a better accreditation for the hospital. So although the overall result showed that there was satisfaction, even though there's only a handful of residents that were not satisfied, this will still give us an idea of how to still continue to improve, especially the relationship with the clinical consultants and their personal experience. We have the strength of the study is that we were able to use a validated question such as the LPS, which was a validated instrument used in Veterans Affairs. Our limitation was that we have an equal number of sample size. We initially thought of having only internal medicine and pediatric, but because of the imbalance between the sample size, some of the De La Salle subjects included all of the other subspecialties to help increase the imbalance of the sample size between the two institutions. So it would have been an additional information if we were able to also get satisfaction from surgery, anesthesia, and the other specialty which have a procedure. But because of the small sample size, we cannot compare the sample between the medical city and the De La Salle residents. So it would have been better if we were able to categorize the satisfaction in between the subspecialty training program. We acknowledge that this is not a direct measure of the effectiveness of the residency program, and the perceptions does not really reflect the overall training program, but we need to understand also where does this satisfaction of the residents are coming from, no? The other thing is this tool can also be an essential starting point for a quality indicator for our own residency program. So probably that's it. Thank you. Support. Yes, ma'am. Mm. 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 I was actually also we also have that results, but the factor was that we were referring to were the factors essential for the training program itself, like the learning, the clinical environment, the working environment. But with regards to age and the different level of their different level, we have a results for that. It was actually statistically significant. Most of the residents who are on the third level already were satisfied, and those on the lower level were dissatisfied. Probably ito yung value na to, yung konti na value na yon. So yung lower levels, we can include that in our final paper. That's actually a good point, ma'am, no? Yung between age and the level of the residency training. But what we were thinking actually was the factor of these factors with regards to the training itself. But that would be a good additional for our paper.
Actually, I was going to suggest, just change your title, okay na yung paper niyo.
Okay. Pwede din, ma'am.
Kasi you can just say,
Level of satisfaction na
level of
lang, okay.
satisfaction of the residents, trainees, using the
The LPS. Okay.
It was
Thank
just
you,
the
ma'am.
title that I
Ah,
was at least,
okay.
waiting for the
Factors.
for the
Okay.
But
Point well taken, ma'am. Thank you.
Any questions from the
Right, thank you very much. Same question.
from a management perspective, then how would you? Are you part of the management team?
The
or-
training committee, ma'am.
You're part of the training committee. So, how would
A
you
big
use
factor
the
would be
results?
the relationship with the clinical consultants, because I, for one, may be guilty of that, no? Because all of us are very, what you call that? We're very busy. Sometimes they were asking for mentoring. Some of the students need mentoring. The timeliness of the feedback, we usually do not give a timeliness feedback. So I think that will be a reflection also of my relationship with the residents. So lumabas naman siya. Thank you, ma'am.
Actually, yung question ko, for clarification lang naman din. No? Hinahanap ko lang din yung, although pareho din yung kami na nahanap, kasi ang hinahanap ko kanina, yung factors. Pero
Okay.
yung second ko na question is about the tool. Kasi, well, nabanggit siya, pero hindi siya na-describe fully kung ano yung, hinahanap or ano yung content o yung area na hinahanap or na na-assess, na-evaluate nung tool. Hindi ko lang siya mahanap doon. Nakita ko na lang doon sa results, ito na yung results, learning, gano'n na. Sabi ko, siguro may part
Sa
siguro
umpisa.
kung,
Umpisa pa lang nabanggit na
may
namin.
area, what's the tool.
Yeah.
Yung second question ko, bakit yan yung tool na ginamit? Although nung tinitingnan ko, baka kasi parehong-pareho. Ibig sabihin, itong tool na to, nagamit siya on the same research na ganito rin, gamitin din namin siya for this, parang gano'n. Yun lang na medyo gusto ko lang ma-clarify kung the reason for using that tool, is it yung hinahanap nyo ay nandun sa tool na yon, or this tool is validated and used with
Actually,
other,
sir, yeah. Yung 2 points po yun. Yung one is the validated. It's already a validated instrument. And second, those that the domains are also the ones that we are also looking for. Although dun sa domains, may mga questions lang dun that did not fit our own institution. So,
Ayan.
in-eliminate lang namin. But still, the domains, pasok pa rin
pasok
po.
naman. Tapos yung tool na yan, nagamit na sa iba na
In the
ganyan na US
yes,
na ganyan.
yes, sir. Mhm.
Any other questions from the... Talagang ayaw niyo magtanong, ah. May supporting. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you,
Ah,
thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we go to poster number 2.
Hello, so good morning. So I think all of us here are academicians, so educators. So all of us has that time wherein we had problems in the family, wherein we feel sad. But when we go inside the classroom, we have to smile, we have to be engaged to our students. So actually, that is what you call, there is, as they said, a term for that. So the term for that is actually your emotional labor. So it was, this term is an brainchild of Arlie Horschild, wherein she said that emotional labor is when you try to manage your own feelings so that you can create what is on the physical. So that is your facial expressions and your body language. Like for now, kahit kabadong-kabado ako, pero I have to smile. So kahit nanginginig na yung buong katawan ko, I have to stand straight. So that is actually, and I am being paid for this, so hence this is an emotional labor for me. So this emotional labor was also greatly studied when you look into sociology and also when you look into industry. So they have differentiated it into two types. One is surface acting and the other is deep acting. In surface acting, is what you do is just change your physical. So that is your facial expression and your body language to be appropriate to what the other person is feeling. On the other hand, deep acting is when you are trying also to change your inner feelings together with those that are you are interacting with. So the objective for this study is actually to determine the type of emotional labor that dental academicians do. Okay, and mostly this is most on their interaction with the department. So meaning when they interact with the support staff, when they interact with the colleagues, meaning they have the same rank with them, and also from the rank of their superiors. So meaning those that have higher rank than theirs. Okay. So we used a 5-point Likert emotional scale that was developed by Daeffendorf and then later on used by Otsuka. Osturka actually did a study on emotional labor on nurse academicians. Okay, so this one we used, since this is a validated one, we use this in the concept of the dental academicians. Okay, so we use mean scores for this, wherein 5, if you grade the sentence as 5, you strongly agree, okay, with the sentence. And then 1, if you strongly disagree with the sentence. And as you see with our results, most of them will have shown emotional labor in all aspects, either seeing that they are more than 2.5, so meaning they show emotional labor both to support staff, clinical instructors, and also the coordinators. For figure 1, as you will see, the highest one is with the support staff towards their superior. So what does this say? So meaning the support staff try to change their physical attributes on what they will show to their superiors. Okay, so that is what that is saying. So on the other hand, like the lowest one, which is this one, the clinical instructor, will not really change their physical when they talk to their support staff. But this is very, very different when we talk about deep acting. Because here, as you will see, the clinical instructors towards their support staff will try to change, actually, they will not try to change their physical, but actually they will change their inner feelings so that they can relate more to their support staff. And that is how they will interact, how the clinical instructors interact with their support staff. But mostly, for the support staff and coordinators, they don't change their inner feelings just for the sake of interacting with any type of, any rank of their social workers. Okay, so for discussion.
Okay, so being employed in an educational institution actually requires social interaction regardless of the emotions that we are all feeling. Because basically every human beings, we try to manipulate our emotions one way or the other. It's always. But people try to control their feelings so to fulfill the goals and of course the expectation of the other people around us. We have to meet their expectations. That's why we change the feelings. So just to quote Irving Goffman described that the way the people try to control the impressions they make on others in the social encounters because people basically wanted to be received well, 'di ba? And we also wanted to be taken credible and at the same time someone basically worth spending the lives with. So something to be good at each other and being likened by the others. Okay. So it means that it's either we express the positive feelings only or we try to hide or manage the negative feelings. Now, when we deal with the negative feelings, it's either we hide it entirely or we try to pretend something that is not there. So, dun din papasok yung surface acting and deep acting. Because when you say surface acting, as what Sharm said, you're trying to change the physical attributes. So, you're trying to pretend. Pretending to be happy, pretending that you just go on with the flow and say yes. When you say deep acting, it's you change the inner feeling. There's an effort for you to change what you're feeling. So, which is better? It depends. Okay? However, we recommend that as faculty members, or basically the people, everybody should limit this type of feelings, but surface acting and deep acting. Why? Because it can actually have an emotional conflict with other people, not just your superior, but the other people in general, okay? Because if you have an emotional conflict, it will be different. It will be difficult to build relationship. Now, for the other researchers, it is recommended for further studies with equal number of respondents per rank of employee and have to include a genuine acting in the question or survey tool. So that's it.
Sige. Question po.
Sorry.
Yung actually tinatry ko pang maayos sana yung statement ng objective. So, well, hindi ko alam kasi kung comment or itatanong ko directly, how can you still improve the statements ng objective general? And, kasi parang medyo may konti lang akong concern in terms of the statement. Yung kaya determine whom faculty members show more surface acting. Parang baka may mas malalim or mas appropriate na statement pa tayo for although tinitingnan ko kung ano pang pwede, pero sa tingin ko lang meron pang something to improve on the statement na. So well, I think that's not but it's a comment
So
siguro
thank
sa
you.
suggestion,
Thank you for
no,
that
para ma-improve. Yung second ko na kasi by merely looking at the data, dapat kahit walang nagpe-present, you can actually understand, you can medyo nahirapan dun sa presentation ng data. Lalong-lalo na ganun pala yung magiging objective mo, yung parang faculty to superior, faculty to colleague, faculty member to support staff, parang ganun. So, baka may something then to improve on the presentation of the data. That's one comment. And yung sa recommendation, aside from the recommendation na state, are there any more implications in terms of working environment? Kasi nung well, yun yung tanong ko, no? Kasi yung dito, parang feeling ko yung unang recommendation na nabanggit is for the individual, no? Sabi niya, it is recommended that employees should limit showing these feelings because it will lead to emotional conflict. So the researchers recommend na ilimit ko yung pagpapakita ng feeling. So sabi ko baka more than that, what else can you suggest in terms of siguro yung mas malakihang recommendation?
Okay. So actually, for emotional labor, the greatest effect of this is actually burnout from academicians. So actually, we place it that there can be become emotional exhaustion and burnout in the employees. So that is an eventual
So that's
outcome
why.
when people try to show emotional labor towards their workmates.
Workmates. Ako din sa kanya. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll try to improve.
My first question is, why was this important to study? Especially from a management perspective.
So since one of the greatest issues right now is really on the mental health of all in the workplace, so we try also to look into something that will look into the mental health, and what we come out was actually the burnout. So with the burnout, what we try to look is actually the factors that will eventually affect on the burnout of academicians per se. And one of the factors that we have found that have very, very little literature when we look into academicians and also in the Philippine setting is actually emotional labor. There are a lot of studies for emotional labor when they talk about in the industry. Like for example, there was a study in call center agents here in the Philippines that compares the emotional labor of call center agents here versus those that are from Australia. Another study was also done with the emotional labor in hotel employees. So we just want to look into, because that has been found out to contribute to the burnout of these two occupations. So what we want to find out is if this can also affect the burnout of us academicians when we talk at the long term.
Then it would be very important to actually include in your introduction or maybe in your review of literature the relationship of emotional labor to burnout, because that's not very clear here. Second, how would you relate your findings or the construct of emotional labor to the Filipino work ethic? It's very important because what work ethic does emotional labor, which I think is a very Western construct, does it relate to? Personally, does hiding one's emotions really, is it that really good for us? Because that might, for me, my pop psychology knowledge will just tell me that if I suppress my emotions for a prolonged period of time, the more I will get probably depressed, or maybe I will just burst one day, you know. So how does that relate to which concept of Filipino work ethic will you relate this to? Because that's important, because we're talking about Filipino dental academicians. Pero yun na nga, may problema din ako sa results kasi may staff, the title and your results kind of like don't match.
So actually, before, as a disclaimer, what we really expected was that those that would have lower rank will show higher emotional labor when they are really working towards those that are higher rank from them. But unfortunately, with our discussion with our advisor, what we really showed was the deep acting, wherein the clinical instructors are trying to imbibe the feelings of those that are lower and that have a lower rank than them. So I think in the Filipino perspective, I think that is what Filipinos are. Parang compassionate tayo, tapos ayaw natin na magtingin ng mababa sa ibang tao. So actually, I also tried, because we have discussed this with our advisor, we tried to look into the even to sociology journals about it, but unfortunately, there are really no studies on the emotional labor of Filipinos per se. Ang nakita lang talaga, what we just only saw online was the one done in call center agent. So, this one was done towards um, the clientele, mostly on their clientele, but not on the organizational level. So on the Filipino perspective, I think we will have to look more, yes, with what really, but personally, I think for personal reasons, I see that we, as Filipinos, would like to be in line and don't want those that are our subordinates will look parang sasabihin na nagmamataas tayo. So I think that is why you try to do a deep acting more when you are working towards those that have lower rank than you.
Meron lang akong clarify. Interested kasi ako doon sa emotional labor, no? Kasi it very applies to us as a profession, di ba? So I was just thinking, kung if you have a study among dentists, was there also a study among doctors? Kasi I think mataas ang ating emotional fatigue. Actually, fatigue yung tawag ko dyan.
No, kasi originally we wanted to have the doctors of St. Luke's and dentistry from my school. Fortunately, in St. Luke's kasi they have ethics committee, so we cannot do that. Hindi po siya abot. So that's why nag-concentrate lang kami sa dentistry. Kasi yan yung nakikita ko nangyayari sa office namin.
Isa na lang interesado talaga ako sa paper mo. No? So yung surface acting ba, tsaka yung deep acting, do you refer to the negative feelings ba o positive ba yun? Kasi yung recommendation nyo, di ba, it should not be shown yung feeling. So, ano ba yung
So actually, in all the papers that have been presented with academicians, they don't say that surface acting and deep acting, and also in all the definitions, they never said that which one is negative, which one is positive. Okay, so I think it is just what you need to do. You need to do because of the job. Kaya nga siya emotional labor because you have to be paid for it. So if you're doing it to your kamag-anak, that is not emotional labor. But this one kasi, because of paid siya, paid. Talagang paid labor, paid emotions, parang ganon. Yeah, yes. So you have to, like now, ang hindi pala emotional labor to kasi hindi po ako babayaran ni.
Walang bayad.
Walang bayad. So great. Sige, pwede na rin. So I think it's more of really, that's why what is differs between emotional check, emotions just in check versus this emotional labor is that labor is paid. Emotions, you show the emotions that are being paid. Like for example, for doctors, di ba, kung kailangan galit na si patient, but you still have to smile and then say, oh, it's, sige, we will look into it, pero nakaayos ka pa rin. Pero sa loob, you are already burning up. Okay, so that is actually the surface acting. And then versus the deep acting, that we would like our doctors to have, that they will try to change their inner feelings towards what is being felt by our patients. But yun nga, unfortunately, because of time constraints, we cannot really go on with the ethics side. We have to pass ethics in the medical center to just ask the doctors.
Comment lang. Actually, very interesting yung kasi bago siya, it's a new concept, no? Relatively new. First time ko ring narinig yan sa inyo, no? Yon. But important pa rin kasi this is a research paper, no? So our goal also is to go through the process, the research process, and be able to present it, write it in a, ano ba, following all the elements of the, kasi diba, remember, sa research ang importante kasi dyan consistency. So that, parang kanina, no, kung ano nilagay nyo sa title, dapat nandun siya sa introduction, andun din sa object. Kung ano yung sinabi nyong objective, yun din yung nasa result, nasa discussion, all the way down to conclusion and recommendations. No? Ang comment ko lang, kasi some of the recommendations parang are not really coming from the result of the paper. No? Especially if you just, your goal lang is really descriptive, na gusto niyo lang i-describe na ito yung, this is the type of emotional labor that happens in this group of people. You might not be able to come up really with some of these recommendations because ito lang naman yung nakita natin, no? So, you have to be a little, parang on the lookout sa ganon. Kasi madali talagang mapunta sa conclusion na minsan kasi, syempre, yung iyong feelings sumasama, no? But you have to be looking at ano ba yung naging result, and then related to your objective, how do I now, or to your questions, what is the answer to my question, and that will be your conclusion. And then based on those conclusions, what then can be recommended, no? What can you do with those results? Okay? So, yun lang. Kasi minsan lumalabas siya, no? Nawawala dun sa main objective nung paper. Okay. Any other questions, comments? No. But it's very interesting. Yeah. Meron pa? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, poster 3. Si Tina.
Okay. Okay, good morning. So, I am Christine Chin, and this is Ma'am Alma Flores. We are from the Department of Speech and Language Pathology and Occupational Therapy of the College of Rehabilitation Sciences of De La Salle Health and Sciences Institute. And our study, we hope to determine the factors that motivates faculty members of both departments to continue working in the LSHSI. So, as part of our motivation to determine, with coming up with this study, we really wanted to know what drives people to stay and what drives people to leave department. So both departments are relatively new. The Department of Occupational Therapy started in 2011, and the Department of Speech and Language Pathology started in 2014. So yes, they're both very young departments, but there's still turnover of faculty members. So we wanted to know, how do we ensure that we actually highlight the factors that matters most to the faculty members, so that the administration can also provide them with incentives, or provide them with better structures, so that these factors are reinforced, and then we have higher satisfaction among faculty members within the department, so they are motivated to stay. So for our methodology, this was accomplished by conducting an interview with all of the respondents of the study. So inclusion criteria are faculty members who have been working at least 1 year in the department, and has to be part of, has to be an active faculty member, meaning those who are away for study grants are not included in the study. We interviewed those who are still actively teaching in the department, and we also interviewed 2 respondents who already left the department, but were also part of both departments during the last academic year, 2016-2017. the questions were mostly developed through the help of our advisor, Ma'am Betchay. We wanted, go ahead, ah. So, we wanted to come up with open-ended questions, and we wanted to come up with a descriptive and a qualitative study and just develop themes based from the responses that they gave us. So rather than coming up with a questionnaire that would itemize the factors, we wanted them to come out organically from the respondents, and then we started out with asking them if they are happy in the department for those who are actively teaching, and then what do they feel are the things that would contribute to that kind of feeling, feeling of satisfaction, and then if ever there are some factors that they haven't mentioned that could be part of our teams, we would then probe. And then at the end, we would summarize the responses to determine if what they have stated is something that is how we understood it. And then, so for some clarifications, and then that's the end of the interview. For those who are no longer with the department, we asked them if they were happy in the department while they were still employed. So if they were happy, why did they end up leaving? Or if they weren't happy, why did they still leave? So we no longer thought of asking them why would ask them to stay, because obviously they're no longer part of the department. Okay, so for the participants, for the OT department, we got a total of 9. So there are 7 active full-time faculty members. There's 1 active part-time faculty member, and there's also 1 who already left, the LSHSI, who stayed in the department for 3 years. Among those who responded, 5 of them are holding administrative positions. For SLP department, there's a total of 5. So there's 5 active full-time faculty members and 2 active part-time faculty members. And there's 1 faculty member who left the LSHSI who was employed for 1 year as a part-time faculty member. So among those with an administrative position, 2 of them, of the 5, are holding administrative positions. So, for our results, so first, for the Department of Speech and Language Pathology, what we did, we collated all of their responses, and then we grouped them together into themes. We based them on the study of Guajardo 2011. It was based on Save the Children, theoretical framework that was developed for the Save the Children Foundation. Okay, and then, and when we already collated the data, we were surprised to see that same things would come up from the faculty members. So across all of the SLP faculty members, workmates, cooperation with workmates, and communication within the department is something that was highly valued. It also resulted to high satisfaction rating within the department of 100%. So even those who also left the department was also happy within the department, and she left because of personal reasons, more on being active in her church community. And she said that there was nothing that the department could have done to make her stay. For those in the SLP department, going back, so what they said that was contributing to their satisfaction or happiness inside the department is, again, being with the co-workers, communication, having a structure, enough structure, but also enough autonomy to do the things that they are able to do, which such as execution of teaching learning activities, developing of how they want to run their classes. But there are some comments, negative comments, with regards to compensation for extra or overtime work rendered, especially for administrative work requirements. There's also a request for inclusion in the contract of faculty members for provision of use of transportation for faculty members who travel from Manila. Because there's actually available transportation, but since it's not in the contract, sometimes it can get they tend to question their validity of using that actual privilege. So they just want it in black and white. And then for learning materials and facility, they acknowledge that there are enough resources in the library. However, internet connection within the facility is poor. flooding inside the office when it's raining, lack of classrooms and laboratories. Yes. And also need for multiple evaluation tools and therapy materials should there be sessions that are running at the same time so that they do not have to share. So that's for learning facilities. They also said that they feel that they have a voice within the department. They are heard. Administrators also stated that they are also heard by those in higher administration, such as the dean, and their decisions are also being honored. There's enough autonomy in the institutional environment, there's career development, and also there's recognition and prestige, and accountability. So these two things, they're mostly internal, intrinsic, in terms of motivation. So what we noticed is that for those in the SLP department, the goal is really to fulfill their need for self-actualization, to transfer knowledge to their students, and also to provide the Philippines with more SLPs who will be in practice. There is no specific mention of the institution in general. Okay. For accountability, the respondents stated that there is support again coming from other faculty members, and they also appreciated that there is a mentoring program between new faculty members and old faculty members to help them transition into the department. Okay. For the OT department, among all of the respondents, 56% are happy with their current work. 22% said that they are partly happy, but there are also some factors that makes them unhappy in their current work setting. And then there's 22% who is not happy in the current work situation. Yes. So, we noted that those who show dissatisfaction in their current position are also holding administrative positions. Okay. So for workload and challenges, positive, work is manageable for most of the faculty members. There are some parts of the topic that's not their forte or not part of their specialization, but they are aware that this is something that they need to work on. It provides an alternative challenge aside from what they do in the clinics, and it allows them to be able to provide simple explanation for complex idea for the students. However, for negatives, they feel that there is too much work for some new faculty members, that it becomes disorganized and stressful. And they also stated that there are issues in the past system that could not be resolved, so dealing with them becomes routinary and mechanical. One faculty member also feels that there is no solid plan, and it also leads to disorganization within the department. For remuneration and incentives, for the most part, faculty members are happy with the what they're getting. There's one faculty member who believed that the pay is not enough, and there's another faculty member who wanted more benefits, such as housing benefits for faculty members who are not living within the vicinity of the institution. For recognition and prestige, the same with the SLP department. There's fulfillment in teaching, but there's mention of the recognition and pride that you are actually affiliated with an institution like LaSalle. For accountability, there's general recognition among faculty members that they have to deal with each other, and then they have different personalities that they have to deal with. Only 2 faculty members mentioned that they enjoy the company of other people in the department, and the institution provides opportunities to get to know each other. However, for the negative, we indicated here that only 1 faculty member mentioned that they learn from each other and that there is support coming from others when they need it. So 1 faculty member mentioned who already left the institution, stated that initially she was happy, but she felt that she no longer felt adequate working in the department because problems in documentation in the college became apparent, and working in the academy, she did not get the support that was needed for instructional design, curriculum planning, etc. within the institution. So that was actually the thing that drove her out of the department. She felt that it would have been better if she just got that kind of training outside and not within the organization. And we felt that this was something that we had to include in the study because it was very telling of how the organization was being run. Okay, so for career development, there's a faculty development plan, there's a recognition of that. But there's mention of study so that you know what you are supposed to do. So I guess career pathing, specific career pathing for faculty members, which is actually mentioned in SLP department because faculty members are being groomed towards specific specializations and specific areas of interest. Okay. For institutional environment, generally they are guidelines, they're happy with it. However, two faculty members who are part of the administration raised concerns about dealing with the current system of the institution and implementation of plans from higher management. So for voice, there's only negative comments. So they feel that even with the presence of an administrative role, they are still not being heard in the college as a whole. Okay, so and there's also mention of the term power trippers within the department. And then for facility and environment, there's no mention of them in the interviews. So for those who are combined, we already combined, the last question that we asked is, have you ever considered leaving? So for the SLP department, two faculty members have considered leaving the department. One is because of proximity of their house to the institution, and they felt that by providing the transportation, it's something that can be alleviated. Another one is that better job offers with higher pay and less time-consuming work. For the OT department, 3 respondents said no, that they are satisfied with their work, but 5 out of the 8 active respondents said that yes, they did consider due to for personal growth. Another one is to stay happy because they are no longer happy, and then considering other fields such as going into medicine or exploring other options or change in career. So for discussion and conclusion, we felt that the bulk of what makes faculty members satisfied is provision of a structure, communication, and also cooperation within the department, because that's something that was very evident in the SLP department and something that was lacking based from our interviews in the OT department. So there was a stark differences between the satisfaction that was being achieved by the faculty members, and it's also driving them towards leaving the department and exploring other options. So in terms of recommendations, we feel that we mentioned that the results of the study will also be disclosed to the department, and then so that they can realize what are the strengths and possibly some of the weaknesses within the department, and hopefully they can come up with a better structure within, especially for the OT department, for the faculty members to communicate better, to work together, and also for the department to have a solid plan and system to go where they need to go. So that's all po. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sige, ma'am. So, my question is for candidate number 1. Isa lang pala. Hindi. So, talagang ginawa pa. Given the chance to expand the study, what other sources of data will you consider to identify factors that motivate the faculty? Kunyari, given the chance na lalakihan yung study pa.
Siguro po on our end, since we did an interview, so a questionnaire or a focus group discussion would be something that we can do after, just to validate the information that was in. Although we recognize kasi how difficult it could be to face the results of the study, because we interviewed them independently of each other, and we are still actually.
We would actually want to enhance this one because we were planning to give it to the research committee in the institution. But I think we need to include more and the data
Yeah.
medyo kailangan namin siyang pag-aralan yung yung what based on your question kung paano namin gagawin kasi medyo we lack pa din on the research part yung knowledge namin.
Yeah.
So
So on our end rin po, siguro yung po, from the information that we obtained, siguro we can clarify if this is really the sentiment of a lot of the people. Baka naman it's only individual. So baka coming up with a questionnaire that would itemize these or a focus group discussion per, halimbawa siguro part-time or full-time if it's something that can be categorized. Just to see if, and also siguro, hindi lang stated here, pero we want to indicate also age of the faculty members who responded and also length of time of stay within the department and also teaching experience. Because I think we indicated the mean age here. So actually, those from the SLP department are 2 years older in terms of mean. And mean length of stay for active full-time faculty, they've been staying for 4 years. So they've been working, actually, even if the SLP department is younger compared to the OT department, those who are in the SLP department work longer together. Those in the OT department actually work shorter together because they were recently employed. So those are factors that I think we might want to explore in the future.
So, well, yun yung point. Well, yun yung actually yung parang purpose ko in asking the question na at least na-acknowledge na hindi yung interview lang yung kayang magbigay ng factors na mag-motivate for the faculty members to stay in an institution. So maraming factors, maraming pwedeng data, maraming sources of data. So parang yung aking comment na lang dun sa study, how can you still parang streamline to the results? Kasi parang feeling ko ito lang yung may results na tayo pero yung title sobrang lawak. So parang ang laki nung parang pag binasa mo yung title, parang iisipin mo ang dami nung data, ang daming information na nakuha. Pero kung titingnan ko, pero yung mga results na narinig, well, valid. Ibig sabihin talagang nakuha naman through interview eh. So ibig sabihin hindi naman natin manenegate kung ano yung sinabi at nakuha nyo through your interview. So siguro yung comment ko lang, how will you parang structure the study in such a way that you only focus on the perceptions or personal nung mga na-interview or nung mga participants. Kasi pag sinabi yung factor, sobrang laki, no? Pati iniisip ko, pang ano pa bang pwede? Siguro kung halimbawa, kung umaalis sa institution nyo, saan sila pumupunta? Ano bang stakeholders pa? Oo, may economic factor, may family, may ganon, kung ano, marami pa saan sila pumupunta, saan sila lumilipat, tama sila ba dun sa work na nandun sila, ganon. Tsaka yung isang point ko lang na yung happiness, baka hindi siya kayang directly sabihin na kung happy ka, magsistay ka ng matagal, parang ganon. Kasi baka si Ma'am Betcha hindi naman talaga siya masaya, pero nandito pa rin, nandito pa rin siya. Surface lang, baka emotional labor, hindi joke lang. So, ako yun lang po.
Wait, I think kasi baka these questions are related to mine. Yeah, and the first one is that you use the word motivation. That's one big concept at all. And then you relate it to working, continue working, or intend to stay or do not intend to stay. Second of all, you also mentioned something about happiness and satisfaction. How do all these relate? That's one of the things that you might want to further explain in your paper, because those are 3 different things. And then you might need to show then that motivation is a variable that is linked to happiness and satisfaction. Second of all, that you, wow, kakanta na ako, Mandy. Second of all, why did you decide you might need to also justify, you don't need to explain now, to explain in your paper why you decided to do a qualitative study, which should be reflected in your title. Kasi you used interviews, and therefore what you wanted was to obtain the stories of the faculty. Third, you also need to explain in more detail and justify how you were able to come up with themes. Because thematic analysis ito eh. And how did you go about that? And why was it necessary for you to separate the stories of the SLPs and the OTs? Because there's no need in a qualitative study unless you wanted to differentiate.
Yun po.
Which is not
Actually, we were
really-
considering, while we were going through the themes nga po, we were thinking, kailangan ba natin lagyan sa dulo ng a comparative study? Parang ganun.
No.
Kasi
Be-
po,
and
we
because,
felt-
never
Opo.
mind. But because you also mentioned that you wish to share this with your administrators, be very careful because these people will be identified and you're not supposed to. You have to be very, very careful about that because that is a disclosure of their stories. And that the department should not be mentioned. And there is no need also when you present your data to say one said this, two said this, because this is not quanti. You're supposed to just get an overall patterns of
Okay.
what patterns did you see, and you did see, and you did
Yeah.
present that. Okay, so
Ma'am, siguro po on our end, we just decided to focus on SLP and OT separately kasi we recognize that these are two separate organizations with different dynamics within the organization. Opo.
equal sample is not necessary in a qualitative study. And what approach did you use? Because it will help define how you analyze, how did it, being involved in the departments themselves, how did that influence your analysis? No, you don't have to answer. Don't worry. These are things that you might want to think about, explore, and you might want to include in your report.
Okay.
Just to improve your paper some more.
Sige po. We'll
That's it.
take
Don't
note
worry.
of that. Yeah.
No-
Kasi
no need to
honestly,
defend. No,
when
no.
we were going through the process of interviewing, actually we were also surprised with the data that we were receiving because we're also part of these organizations. So I think also the respondents tend to become more introspective about what really is my place in the department.
That could have influenced, in fact, their stories
yeah.
and the results of the study,
Yeah.
which you can write in the limitations.
Yes. Actually, that's something that we plan to include because we recognize that there are some limitations with regards to how they will share the information. But thank you very much for your feedback.
May tanong kayo? Wala talaga. Perry, may tanong ka? Talagang si Perry.
Points dito
Okay.
ang nag-aas.
Tanong. Okay, thank you very much, Tin and Alma. Next, number 4, sila Dane.
So good morning, everyone. Okay. So our research, on behalf of my partner, Christian Splana, I'm presenting our research entitled "Towards Optimizing Services at the Medical Oncology Outpatient Chemotherapy Unit of the PGH." So as a brief intro, the outpatient chemo unit services about 500 patients a month, give or take. Most of these patients belong to the lower social strata of the country. And the outpatient unit, for it to work properly, it requires the concerted effort of oncologists, of nurses, and of pharmacists. So it's really a team effort. And our goal actually is to optimize service in the unit because not only does that mean by optimizing services that you improve patient care, but you actually provide a necessary service to our underserved countrymen. So the purpose of our study was actually fourfold. The first is to identify patient expectations of quality service at the outpatient chemotherapy unit, to identify specific actionable targets to improve services, to create a template which can be used for improving the chemotherapy unit, based on expectations which the patients express themselves. And finally, although a bit ambitious, is to encourage the patients to actively participate in improving the quality of care that they receive. So our participants were all current patients receiving chemotherapy at the outpatient unit. So we employed a convenience sample because what we wanted was to generate ideas using mixed methods. Specifically, we had a written survey which we handed out to patients, and then after receiving the survey, the answered survey, we conducted an FGD to clarify some points. And what came out was actually the following. So in total, we had 9 patients who consented to participate. And then the questionnaire actually divides the experience into 3 parts. The first part is the process before the actual infusion. The second part is the process of infusion when you actually receive the chemotherapy. And the third part is the period after the infusion before the patient goes home after the visit. So we had a few questions for each part, and then the first part was actually directed toward services from the pharmacy. And the patient said that before the infusion, they felt that, and I'll just read verbatim dun sa sinabi nila, inaasahan naming maayos ang pagbibigay ng number para sa pagtawag sa pharmacy, which meant that they expected an organized queuing system at the pharmacy, and that the preparation, the actual preparation, yung pagtitimpla ng gamot was mabilis, because sometimes it's a bottleneck when they receive treatment. For the doctors, they expected that the doctors would actually explain in better detail the process of chemotherapy, specifically what medicines were going to be given, what are the side effects, etc. And then, so actually, yung sinabi nila was, yung kailangan maipaliwanag ng doktor yung proseso ng chemotherapy. So we clarified this with the patients. What if they meant that proseso meant the workflow process, I mean what they were supposed to do, what they were expected to do, or the actual process of giving the chemotherapy, and they said it was both. And then of course, yung effect of the side effects of the medicines. As regards the facilities, particularly the waiting area, they expected it to be comfortable with, if possible, with a TV, so that they don't get too bored. During the actual process of infusion, they expected their doctors, inaasahan naming mag-rounds ang aming doktor habang kami nagki-chemotherapy, because we have so many patients, we see so many patients, to be truthful. We usually see them before they receive the chemo and then after. So we don't get to see them while they're receiving the chemo, or at least most of them. So they would want doctors to spend a little bit of time with them while they receive the chemo. As regards the nurses, inaasahan naming sapat ang dami ng nurse para sa bilang ng pasyente niya. Because if you go and visit the unit maybe, and if you have some time, you're welcome to, you will note that maybe there's 1 or 2 nurses for 40 patients. So it takes a long time, and then of course they feel like they're not being attended to very well. So we clarified again what they meant by that, and then they said that the single nurse attended to them. The single nurse that was taking care of them had too many things to do, insert lines, give chemo, etc. Facilities, they said na inaasahan naming tahimik yung chemotherapy area, inaasahan naming komportable ang chemotherapy area. So sana meron doon sariling upuan yung bawat pasyente, instead of just that one couch, they tend to use tabi-tabi sila. Hindi mainit yung kwarto, tas again may TV. So, and then inaasahan naming sapat ang gamit tulad ng sabitan ng swear. So actually what they meant by this was, patient has their own chair, and then ideally also their own IV stand, so they don't have to share. It doesn't look like a Christmas tree. And then after the infusion, so again, what do they expect of their doctor? So inaasahan namin again na mag-rounds yung aming doctor habang kami nag-chemotherapy para maipaliwanag yung side effects that they might experience at home, and then to give them the proper paperwork for the next session. And then we actually allotted a portion in the questionnaire for specific suggestions. And then the nurses said magdagdag daw kami ng nurse. So discussion. So what we had here is a lot of very subjective information and nominal data. So how are we going to present it in an organized fashion? It occurred to us to structure it in a 2x2 matrix based on resources and time requirements para medyo smart yung goals. So, so we have here on the columns the amount of resources we feel it will need, and then on the rows, time for the columns, and then for the rows, resources. So short-term objectives that were not so resource intensive might have been fixing the pharmacy queue, so maybe giving them asking them to make a faster, they have a number system, but it's not very effective. Reminding oncologists to see patients while on chemotherapy, so that's something that doesn't really require a lot of resources. Then reminding oncologists to give adequate reminders to patients also. This is again something that doesn't require a lot of resources. And something that will not require so much resources but will take a lot of time would be maybe asking the nursing service to assign more nurses to staff the chemotherapy unit, so that will require fixing the schedule, etc. And then assigning more pharmacists to prepare mixed chemotherapy. Again, that would require some changing of the schedule. As for high resource short-term goals, maybe the unit can procure more IV stands and then maybe buy a TV. And then a couch, and then repair the air conditioners. And then medium to long term, high resource would be maybe hiring more nurses or pharmacists instead of just changing the schedule. You have to hire more, make more items. And then procure more biosafety cabinets, which is where they prepare the chemo, so that will allow it to work faster. And then something that will require a lot of resources must maybe buy more comfortable chairs for the patients. So what are the limitations of this study? So first of all, we felt that the big issue was the response bias. Siyempre, if you ask the patients what they expected, mahihiya yan magsabi. Kasi in part, they would worry na baka balikan sila or whatever. So that's one. And to address it, I think in a future study, maybe we can have somebody conduct the FGD third party in a neutral location para maging mas forthcoming sila. Pangalawa, we're not sure if this is actually generalizable to all patients on receiving outpatient chemo, because remember, the patients we have here are from the lower strata. So if we ask people who are receiving chemotherapy in a private center, they might have different expectations. So it would be worthwhile to see what they expect and then maybe find the middle ground. But having said that, to conclude, we feel that patients can provide reliable and actionable goals for optimizing their care based on their own experiences while receiving chemotherapy. And then by organizing these goals into resource and time-bound objectives, we can design an action plan to improve services at the chemotherapy unit. And then, of course, we plan, once we've fixed everything, maybe to submit it to the business tumor board of the institute, so they can maybe act on it, at least maybe the easier goals. So I think I have some time for questions. Thank you.
Tanungin natin sila para may participation sila. No? Sige. Hindi ba kayo na-surprise doon sa result? Expected? Kasi ako, well, I'm a nurse na po. So, ang una kong hinahanap na sana sinagot ng mga pasyente is about patient safety, no? Parang hindi mo aakalain na ang unang hinahanap ng mga pasyente is about comfort, about pero hindi pumasok. Although pinipiga ko pa yung sagot, baka merong something about yung although tinitingnan ko rin kung merong bang baka nakalimit doon yung tanong na ano ba yung makakapagpa ano ba, sayado lang. Parang ganun lang ba yung tanong? Hindi although hindi ko rin nakita kung ano yung mga tinanong, pero ganyan yung lumabas na result. So well, na-surprise lang ako na hindi nag-surface yung about patient safety, yung pagiging safe nung delivery nung gamot, ng chemotherapy, and all. Basta mabigyan, maikli ang pila, na may couch, may TV, kahit siguro maling gamot na yung ibigay, no? De, joke lang, ma'am.
Sir, siguro, kasi these are cancer patients. So, I think they are suffering mostly from pain. So, siguro yung primary consideration nila is really comfort. Hindi na yung safety ko, ano yung binigay sa akin. Anyway, nandiyan naman si doktor eh. Basta ako kailangan, pagbibigay mo. Kasi siguro yung iba, when they come into the chemo, alam na nila yung trauma nila, masakit yan, di ba? Parang kahit man lang may nagko-comfort sa kanila. Kasi number one talaga yung pain-free sila. I think siguro kaya yun yung lumabas.
Kung hindi lumabas, siguro baka pwedeng iniisip nila dahil PGH to, competent yung yun nga lang, iniisip nila na hindi lang couch yung uupuan nila. Kaya siguro yun ang lumabas.
Actually po, and if I could add also, yung mga na-interview namin, mga siguro naka 2 or 3 cycles na sila. Tapos I guess okay yung experience. Kaya po hindi rin sila masyadong worried about the safety.
How many participated in the study?
9, ma'am.
9. No. That's 9. So you only conducted one focus group?
Yes, just 1, ma'am. Apo.
Just one. Okay. You mentioned that it's clearly a mixed method study. So that would be good to describe in your methods why you decided to do a mixed method. Can you identify the specific mixed method design?
Kuan, ma'am.
Did you do both at around
Both to the
time?
same. The survey came first, and then we did the FGD after po.
Okay.
Yeah.
But was it to explain the results of the written survey?
What happened was we did the survey, and then when there were things that were not clear, basically yes, to clarify, ma'am.
Okay, because that would then come out as an explanatory sequential,
Okay,
which
ma'am.
you might want to include in your study. This would be very interesting to write about, but you need to improve lang on your methods. And then also articulate why what sort of questions you asked during the FGD. And then, kaya lang medyo na-confuse ako kasi you did it before, during, and after infusion. So, technically, when you see something like that, it would look like an advanced mixed method design, an intervention study. That would also be, you might want to expand this further using that design. Because that's something now very commonly used in medicine to evaluate services. So I would refer you to the book of Creswell on mixed methods to further improve your report.
Yes, ma'am.
And then even your discussion, which is the 2x2 matrix, which is really good, should actually not be in the discussion, but rather in the results.
Okay, ma'am.
Because that is good. Actually, that should be the result. All this information on the top, the first table, should really just to support this matrix. Okay, so that's one way to improve the report or the paper. But it looks like I can understand why it was reported this way kasi management course nga. But if you want to present this as a research paper, provided that of course you had ethics review and approval, you can rewrite this entire thing and get it published. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Comment lang pala dun sa ninote ko kasi yung paggamit nung before infusion, during infusion, tsaka ng after infusion. So nung tinitingnan ko kasi yung kung paano siya ganun na ganun, hindi ba natin siya pwede pang ma-improve in the sense that kasi pag naiisip ko kasi kapag pinablish or ginawa na siya ng full-blown research, yung pag-infusion, parang nakakalimit lang siya dun sa part na sinalinan lang siya ng gano'n. Baka gusto nating lakihan ng konti na kunyari admission, ang iniisip ko kasi yung treatment kasi baka what if hindi infusion yun, baka lahat naman infusion. No? Pero parang ang point, the treatment, before the treatment, and then after or some. Parang ayoko lang, ma-improve lang natin yung paggamit. Nalilimit lang tayo with the word infusion kasi.
Pero any mixed method, especially the quality part, of course the quality part will not it's not the aim naman of any qualitative study to get it generalized.
Kailangan Sorry, meron akong question.
Sure, ma'am.
Yung, di ba yung purpose mo? Kasi I was looking at the purpose at saka yung conclusion.
Mm-mm.
Yung conclusion mo is you're telling that the source of your data are the patients. I was just wondering um, yung identify your expectations at saka yung target goals. Kung you were able to get a particular action plan with regards to dun sa conclusion mo, rather than stating na yung patient is really a good source of your data with optimizing services. Kasi di ba yung title mo towards optimizing services. So yung conclusion mo kung ano yung particular action plan na can improve with the chemotherapy, knowing all the factors na nakita mo dyan.
Thank you for your question, ma'am. Ang kwan po namin was what we were thinking of a template, something we can use to apply, and then that's when it occurred to us to try the matrix nga. What will require time and resources para maging smart yung goals natin. So that was a template that we were envisioning, and then okay, maybe the conclusion was more of a motherhood statement, pero I think it still holds true that patient feedback is very important in improving the services.
Yes. Okay, any
Thank
other
you.
question? Wala? Busy kayo. Okay. Okay, so thank you to Dane and Christian. Number 5. Sino si number 5?
Good morning. I am Jezreline Kakanindin, and my partner is currently at the research forum presenting her research, medicine research forum, si Madeline Amante. So our research is entitled Association Between Time Management and Leadership Skills of Medical Oncology Fellows of the Philippine General Hospital. So this study aims to determine the perceived time management and leadership skills among medical oncology fellows, as well as to determine if there is a correlation between the two factors. So leadership is the art of guiding and motivating a group of individuals in an organization towards a common goal. Time management has been cited as an essential skill for a leader, especially among healthcare providers. So a leader has several tasks, from managing its people, influencing them to be better people, and effectively utilizing the resources available in an organization. Therefore, he must also have good management skills. Effective leaders with strong management and organizational skills are able to influence its team members to make everyone more productive. So successful time management will ultimately have an impact on service delivery and patient care. The results of this study may help in identifying areas for improvement in terms of time management skills, and we hope to include strategies in the fellows training curriculum. So for the methodology, this is a cross-sectional study employing self-answered questionnaires. So our respondents are all current medical oncology fellows. We are only 11. So the fellows were given 2 sets of questionnaires each, the time structure questionnaire by Feather and Bond, and the leadership self-assessment questionnaire. The time structure questionnaire is a 26-item questionnaire using a 7-point Likert scale. The range of the scores are from 26 to 182. A higher score would indicate more time structure. And then this was categorized into 3, the low, intermediate, and high time structure. Leadership self-assessment questionnaire naman, the scores are divided into 2, less than 50 and more than 50. Those with scores of less than 50 are those respondents who have less desire to become a leader or perceived inability to accomplish the tasks required of being a leader. And the higher score would indicate more desire to become a leader and perceived ability to carry out the tasks required of being a leader. So in addition to the questionnaires, demographic data were also collected and analyzed. Fisher's exact test of association was utilized to determine if there was a relationship or association between time management skills and leadership skills. The level of significance was set at 0.05. So for the results and discussions, there were a total of 11 fellows, and table 1 shows the demographics of the residents. Majority, only one was less than 30 years old. Majority were more than 30 years old, and majority were males. The mean score for the time questionnaire was 89.81, indicating an intermediate time score. The lowest score recorded was 65. There was only one who got this. And the highest is 139. For the leadership skills questionnaire, the fellows had an average score of 70.90. This is above 50, indicating desire to become a leader. But at the 0.05 level of significance, using Fisher's exact test of association, our computed value was 1, indicating no significant association between time management and leadership skills. This may probably be due to a small population of the study, which could have reduced the power of the study. So in conclusion, although the study did not demonstrate an association between perceived time management and leadership skills among medical oncology fellows, the average scores of the fellows were actually, they had a high leadership score indicating desire to become a leader and perceived ability to carry out the task of being a leader. And majority also had intermediate time structure scores. So the authors recommend doing a similar study with a larger population in order to increase the power to detect an association if present. Also, variables that may affect time management skills may also be explored, like variables such as age. We were not able to correlate them, but age, gender, and the level of training. So, that's all. Thank you.
The significance, the purpose, the overall rationale for the study are well stated, which is very good. Also, the methodology. My only question is, maybe you can explain why you had to do the Fisher's exact test of association. Maybe you can explain that. The reason for using that particular test in relation to the level of measurement that you would have used in your questionnaires.
Okay, based on what I have learned in statistics, we are currently having our clinical evidence stat. Fisher's test is used to compare two factors, categorical variables, levels of association. We would have chosen t-test, but we only have a small sample. The sample size is less than 20. And the expected frequency, there was to be able to use t-test, the expected frequency, at least not less than 20% of the expected frequency should be less than 5. So in this table, the expected frequency is actually more than 20%, so t-test cannot be used. So we chose Fisher's exact test instead.
You said your level of measurement is really categorical.
Categorical.
Categorical. So you did not use the categorical for associations. That's why I wanted you to just justify it, because there's also, why not Spearman?
Yes, Spearman's or yes.
Kasi association.
Apa.
With another one. So I'm relationship. So,
Okay.
No, I'm okay. Don't worry.
Medyo nahirapan din kami mag-isip ng ano niyan, ng kung what specific.
But yeah, you're correct that your sample size is a big factor. And of course, the level of measurement, kung ordinal or categorical na yung data nyo. You didn't use any Likert?
We did, ma'am. The two separate questionnaires are, Likert scale.
Because of the small sample size.
Hindi rin pwede.
For me, that's
Okay, ma'am. Thank you ba. actual score.
Meron ka namang score, eh, di ba? So, you can
Oo
actually
nga.
just compare scores. Like, for this particular, kasi they both, one person
Has two
both.
scores. Opo.
So, for that person, that participant, meron siyang score for time management, meron siyang score for leadership. And then, yun yung mga i-correlate natin. So, kaya, kaya actually, pwede siyang Pearson, pero dahil 11 lang siya, i-decide na yun. So, makaka-12
But it's a sample size.
But it's, that's
So you can expand this
kaya
time.
kung mas malaki, pwede nyo pang explore yung other ways of how you can analyze the data. So, pwede din yung
Ako yung, well, yung concern ko lang dun sa ano, actually, I agree with ma'am na dun sa presentation, dun sa ano, methodology, results, and all. Yun nasa number of participants, yun yung nagdi-discuss kami dito. Ako naman, going back dun sa introduction, no, naghahanap lang ako siguro nung part na kung saan medyo ma-explain yung time management. Kasi parang sabi ko, bakit kaya niya gustong malaman yung mga time management and leadership skills ng medical on. Oo, parang meron bang, kasi usually pag naglalagay ka sa introduction, meron kang may problem na encounter or meron kayong situation na kailangan ng time management and then you want to study about the association ng time management and leadership skills, parang ganun. So, yun lang, medyo naghahanap lang ako ng siguro dun sa full paper lalabas yung time management or meron bang current na concerns kayo dun sa unit about time management or meron ba kayong mga complaints or something? Parang gano'n yung
Sige.
inaanak ko lang. And that, okay lang. Kahit baka feeling ko sa full paper lalabas. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Samala, and I'm with my co-investigator, Dr. Mabang, of the section of Medical Oncology in UP-PGH. So, kapakilala kami kasi wala yung names namin dun sa poster. And I'd like to apologize for that. So, the title of our study is Determination of Leadership Styles Among Oncologists of a tertiary hospital in the Philippines. So, leadership is actually it's a key component in any organization, and nowadays issues surrounding it are important to ensure that there is efficient and smooth operations in any group or organization. In 1993, the WHO presented the idea of a five-star physician. So since then, the role of physicians are not just limited to their clinical practice. So a five-star physician is a care provider, mainly a care provider or a clinician. A five-star physician is a decision maker, communicator, community leaders, and managers as well. So even if we look back in our medical curriculum, there aren't a lot of there are a lot of subjects that would probably help us to become good clinicians, but there are a few that will actually help us to become good leaders. So these doctors need to be, or the doctors need to be expected to be leaders and social catalysts as well. So medyo mabigat, no? Very big yung responsibilities that are given to us. So as oncologists, being at the forefront of not just managing cancer cases, but as social mobilizers as well, are expected to be effective leaders. So in our own field. So for us in oncology, we're not just expected to treat the patients when they're already there. So we're also into advocacy, health promotion, and prevention as well. So the purpose is number one to describe the demographics and leadership styles of of oncologists of a tertiary hospital in the Philippines using a questionnaire and an interview, and to determine the difference between leadership styles and the following variables. Only identify two variables. May difference ba between leadership styles and sex, and leadership styles and years of practice? So participants are actively members of the section, so mainly oncologists of the UPPGH. And the methodology, we have about 16 participants who answered the questionnaire, leadership style questionnaire by Crow Associates in 2013. This particular questionnaire, unfortunately, we did not encounter any studies, local studies in the Philippines that actually use this type of questionnaire, but we did encounter another this particular questionnaire used in a study in a third world setting. So since that's the only best available data that we can get, so that we use that's the reason why we mainly use this questionnaire. And we did an interview as well. So data analysis, both descriptive and t-test for 2 means, so comparing the two. For the results, 69% of our respondents are males and about 31% are females. And majority of our respondents actually have less than 2 years of practice. So medyo mas marami pa ring younger oncologists. Now we go to the distribution of the leadership style. So by the way, the Crow Associates Leadership Style Questionnaire has about 24 questions and has 4 styles of leadership, like facilitating, delegating, coaching, and directing. Wala namang negative type of leadership. So it's very, very positive na types of leadership. So looking at at figure 1, by eyeballing, coaching is the most common type of leadership, allegedly, in the oncologies, followed by delegating, directing, and facilitating. Then for our next objective is looking at the difference. Is there a difference if you are male, females, or years of practice? We saw that there's no difference in terms of sex. So leadership styles between sex doesn't really matter. And this is supported by several studies. There was one meta-analysis done in 2004. They looked at it and they said, yeah, there's no difference between leadership styles between sex. But in a way, I guess, expectedly, there is a difference in years of practice. So the more than 2 years and less than 2 years of practice, they actually have different leadership styles. So delegating and coaching are the most common leadership styles since in PGH. And I'd like to think that this may be due to the very nature or context or the setting of the institution. PGH being a tertiary teaching hospital, it really fosters this nature of coaching and delegating. Doon nga sa PGH, we have this a culture of you see one, you do one, and just mainly the leader or your superior mainly facilitates or just mainly guides you throughout the process. So maybe that's one of the reason. Also, the democratic and very liberal nature of the hospital tends to allow managers to let their people to make their own decisions, to self-staff in their own ability to do the job and provide feedback when necessary. So recommendations probably the results will only be usable for the detection. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe because we can't really use it for other sections or for other types of oncologies, but it's a good thing because it will serve as a feedback for the section. Now, okay, so these are the type of leaders that we are producing. Like I said, there's no negative type of leader, but maybe if you have a certain type of job that you need to be more facilitating, maybe that's for this section, maybe we need to produce oncologists that are more facilitating. So maybe that's the thing that I think. And again, as always, so since this is quite a small sample size, so we recommend that the bigger sample of respondents be included in future studies. And not just that, but probably do it in other sections as well. Like we said, it's not 5-star oncologists, we need 5-star physicians. So in conclusion, no, management is about getting things done. Leadership is about achieving goals by creating a direction for an organization and inspiring their employees to take initiative and make the right decision. So depending upon the circumstance, we will tend to use different leadership styles. So thank you.
yung dun sa, well, nabanggit naman nung presenter yung ano, no, yung pagiging yung data is good only for the group, parang gano'n, hindi ma-generalize and all. Yung interesado lang ako dun sa tool na ginamit, kung paano nalaman, kung may binago ba kayo. Kasi yung medical, well, yung mga physicians, yung on-call, parang kasi yung leadership na binabanggit mainly nung nakikita kong mga tool, talagang yung in terms of the work, yung alam mo yun, yung sa kunyari sa isang office, gano'n, no? So parang medyo interesado lang na makita kung ano yung tool, paano parang na-tweak into terms of kunyari into patient care, kung gano'n, or teaching in the hospital, parang gano'n. So,
I think what we used, the tool that we used, was sort of a general type of questionnaire. We did not add, we did not subtracted anything from the tool. So it's a general leadership style survey questionnaire that can be used from 4 different groups. So hindi siya medical lang or inclusive lang for the med-onco, hindi po. It's a general type of leadership style questionnaire.
Follow that up. That was my question too. Why that particular tool? Because we know that there are many leadership style questionnaires, but why that particular tool was chosen?
Maybe because it's actually we search for which type, but it's the one that is siguro most applicable, most parang generalized, that we can use also for medical oncologists. And it's the one we found out over searching for resource for the type of questionnaire that we shall be using.
Also, ma'am, like I said, unfortunately, we weren't able to encounter any published tool used here in the Philippines regarding leadership styles. But what we did is that we looked at studies that use this particular tool in a setting that is closest to ours, which is a third world setting na country. So yun yung for that reason, we think that yun yung naging one of our criteria that we agreed upon that we will use. That's why we use this tool.
Because one of the rationale that you can use for your choice of questionnaire can be your, you stated it in your introduction, the type of, the criteria for the 5-star physician, which is closely related to the types of leadership, styles of leadership that you measured. Just a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your inputs. We will include that in our paper.
Comment lang ako kasi you mentioned about culture and the leadership style. So, siguro maganda rin, no? Kung ibang institution ba, other than PGH, kung ibang institution, iba din kaya yung leadership style na makukuha nila. So, ano lang yon, parang nag-light up lang nung na-mention mo na maari ding magandang gawin na iba institution with regards to leadership style, yung culture, yung nature ng institution na yun lang.
In general kasi the one proposed by the WHO is being applied in other medical schools, so I think this is parang basic na leadership culture na pinopromote as part of the medical community. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you. Not Miss Monjus. Thank you very much. Next, number 7. Sino ba to? Oh, si Dan. Brother Dan. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brother Dan Sanding, FSC. I'll be presenting our research entitled The Level of Job Satisfaction and Intent to Stay or Leave of Faculty Members of the Cell Health Sciences Institute College of Rehabilitation Sciences physical therapy department. So my co-author are Dr. Glenn, Dr. Abby, who unfortunately has something more important to do. More important, more important, more important. So, according to Gadjalu and Tanzel in 2002, job satisfaction is really a good predictor for a faculty member intention to leave or stay within an institution. Because later on, it can affect the workforce, especially the stakeholders of the institution, which for us is the student. So we look into our statistics that for the past 2 years, 10 faculty members resigned from their position in the middle of the school year, and 50% of them left their post during the middle of the semester, which greatly affected the students and the entire department. So the purpose is to identify the level of the faculty members' satisfaction in their job, to relate the level of the faculty members' job satisfaction to their intention to stay in or leave their job. And last one is to relate the demographic data of the faculty members to their level of job satisfaction. So the participants, we have 44 faculty members, both part-time and full-time. We did not include those who left the institution already. So the method that we use is a cross-sectional descriptive design. A list of all the current faculty members of the department was obtained, and a 3-part survey questionnaire was used to collect the following data. First is the demographic data. The second is the level of job satisfaction that was adopted from Al Robash et al. In 2011, and we modified because some items is not pertinent to our data collection. And last one is the intent to stay or leave the institution or the department. So the questionnaire were encoded according to the number of the faculty members in the list that we obtained. The participants were asked to sign an informed consent prior to the data collection. All collected data were encoded using the Microsoft Excel with the mean and the standard deviation were used to identify the level of the faculty members' satisfaction in their job. So we are able to interpret the mean score by using these 3 levels. First is the high level with the mean of 4.01 to 5, moderate level from 2.01 to 4, and last one is low level with a mean of 1 to 2. So frequency distribution and cross-tabulation were employed to relate the level of the faculty members' job satisfaction to the intent to stay in or leave their job and to their demographic data. So the result, we're able to gather 43 questionnaires. Only 1 did not participate. So the level of the faculty members based from the job satisfaction has an overall mean of 4.13. So the level of job satisfaction is at high. So on the level of faculty members' job satisfaction intent to stay, we have 83.33% with a high. The intent to leave with the red color has 16.67. For moderate, the percentage is 46.15 versus the intention to leave with 53.85%. The low, we didn't able to gather any data. So the questionnaire is divided into 8 factors. First factor is authority. It has 9 items or 9 questions. For factor 2, supervision, it has 5 questions. Factor 3, policies and facilities, with 9 questions. Factor 4 has 5 questions. Factor 5, Factor 4 is my work itself. Factor 5, interpersonal relationship, that has 5 items. Factor 6 is commitment, with 4 questions. Factor 7 is the salary, with 4 questions. And last one is factor 8, which is the workload, with 4 questions. So based from the data that we collected, the most significant factors is first the authority, second is the commitment, and last is the salary. Based from our demographic data, the male has a lower job satisfaction compared to female. And then the age, we did not able to get the age, but rather we get the generation of our faculty members. From boom generation up to the millennial generation. So we found out that the boom generation we still have has a high, it's our high job satisfaction to stay. As the generation forward, it decreases. Okay. Single is more adventurous, so we have a lower results or job satisfaction. So they have, rather than the married. So the married status, they intend to have high in staying the job. So based from our literature, in a single individual, in an average lifetime, there are 7 times na it changes the job. 7 times. Okay, the part-time has higher. The part-time has a higher job satisfaction compared to full-time. From the academic rank, we have the highest is the professor, followed by the instructor, and last is the assistant professor. For the conclusion, the job satisfaction is not really, even it's a high job satisfaction, it doesn't say that the person or individual will stay or leave. Okay, we did not. We recommend that in the near future that small focal group discussion may conduct to know the factors. So, and also for future study, that the other 2 departments, because the PT department is just one of the department under the college, so we recommend that the other 2 departments may be included to our study. Combined, yes. Actually, dapat ako muna. So, that's all. Thank you.
Any questions? You may want to relate this to the study of Dean Loquias and Dr. Sana. They have a one published study among pharmacy faculty. Pero na-publish yata yung results.
Thank you for that. Actually, I'm very thankful for having me here studying because this is the first time to conduct a study in the institution. Job satisfaction. we are more on the education, but for me, it seems that we neglect our faculty members. Yes. Let's forward. Naka-record yun, no? We're live. Ah. Thank you po for your suggestion.
Ako yung actually ano lang, well, halos pareho yung ano no. Ako statement lang ng purpose no, yung parang something to improve pa on the statement no, yung kunyari identify the level of the faculty members satisfaction in their job. Well, yeah, yung secondary to relate the level. So, we're looking now with the relationship of the level of satisfaction versus the intent to stay and leave. No? Tapos to relate the demographic, I don't know kung talagang nire-relate natin siya as is, no? Yung demographic. Pero parang ang gusto lang natin, dinidescribe lang natin yung profile ng ating ano. So that's my comment. Yung second, medyo ano na aesthetic kasi yung table, meaning the presentation, tapos ang baba na nung ano. The third one, yung kasi katulad din siya nung isa kanina na yung data and then the result is very ano lang, yung para for that institution lang. Hindi natin siya generalize to all institutions. So, feeling ko yung recommendation also kasi may main purpose yung study mo na parang makatulong ka ba? Yung ibig sabihin, ano ba yung gusto natin? Ba't natin ginagawa tong study na to? Gusto natin syempre, obviously, ma-improve yung job satisfaction tsaka yung intent to stay ng mga faculty. So, from the result nung study na yon, how it can help the management or the faculty members to increase their stay in the institution or to improve the level. Parang ganon. So, ganon lang yung naisip ko na way to yung direction ng recommendation natin. Kasi, parang all in all, dun siya papunta, dun sa positive na magstay sana sila, tsaka ma-improve pa yung job satisfaction ng faculty.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Or siguro yung nag-comment. No, because tama yung conclusion nyo kasi na there's no, parang, hindi direct ang job satisfaction in terms of staying and leaving of a person, no? Kaya so therefore, nang mangyayari? So therefore, ano pala yon? So ibig sabihin ba nun, wag na natin pansinin yung job satisfaction or because if we want them to stay or leave, then what should we look at, no? Parang ganun. Pwedeng ganun yun sa mga recommendations. Ano pa ba? Kasi yung nabanggit ni yung relating, no? Kasi kung relate nga, ibig sabihin you're determining correlation, no? So there's some relationship or pattern so that if one changes, the other one also changes, no? So it's a direct correlation or an inverse correlation. So parang gano'n, no? Na kung tumataas ba ang, like for example, as age increases, intention also increases. Parang the likelihood of staying also increases, no? So yun yung resultang maaring hinahanap ni Not dito dahil nilagay nyo doon na ang purpose is relating the level of satisfaction to intention to stay or leave, no? So, makukuha rin naman yun sa analysis kasi baka hindi nyo pa in-analyze at that level. Kasi tama siya, parang it becomes more descriptive, no? You're really just describing, okay, gantong number ang this is the percentage of people na nasa age group na magsistay. Gantong kadami yon. So that's actually more, that's really just describing, no, your population, your sample. So if you really want to reach that objective of establishing a relationship between all these variables, then you might have to analyze it in a different way, no? So maybe do correlation analysis.
How you measure intent to stay or leave? You just ask, was it yes or no?
It is a 5-point Likert scale.
Okay. Hindi siya yes, no.
No.
Okay.
We adapted it from the tool.
Okay. So parang ano rin siya. So yun, yung parang ganon. So parang paano mo ngayon marirelate yung dalawa?
Actually, we had already brainstorming and we already anticipated that question. So, thank you for
Kasi
that.
when you use, tama, kaya kailangan you have to be very careful with the words that you use. Kasi kung relationship ang gusto nyo, dapat relationship talaga yung lalabas, di ba? Even sa conclusion. Okay, sige. Thank you. Ay, yes.
Question lang po. Kasi job satisfaction, klaro naman na dapat tingnan din yung ganong angulo. But I would also, parang ang tanong ko lang din, how these affect naman yung education, HPEd, yung PT education. Like for example, for teachers who have low job satisfaction or for teachers who have high job satisfaction, paano kaya nakakaskid yan when it comes to HPEd? Parang ganon. So, baka lang din, it could be a suggestion to extend the study na parang interviewing siguro students of this faculty or academic performance of these students. Parang tignan lang natin na wala nang pala effect sa PT education, okay lang. Ay, may effect siya. So, all the more, parang it will be a basis to really look into the program ng faculty development when it comes to job satisfaction. Kasi may effect siya sa HPEd or dun sa PT education. Parang ganon. Para lang din mabigyan siya nung i-push nyo yan. Parang anuhin nyo ang faculty kasi may effect siya dun sa education ng mga bata, estudyante.
Actually, I think it's mentioned in the introduction that there is already a study that every turnover, it really affects the stakeholders. That's why it's very important to have a good retention of faculty members.
Ay, siguro ano na lang, to parang jump on the suggestion na lang. Siguro since we have naman 360 evaluation, baka if you have high job satisfaction, would it show kumbaga better results in the 360 eval? Kasi di ba, if you're satisfied with your work, then increases your motivation to do better in your work. Or baka naman, kahit mababa pala yung satisfaction niya, tatrabaho pa rin. I mean, nag-work pa rin siya. So I think those are things that we can consider siguro for both of our studies. Para rin makita rin natin yung effect nun, direct effect. Although we know there are studies that reflect that, but at least we have tangible evidence within the college that actually shows and validates why satisfaction is so important among faculty members.
Okay, thank you.
May comment si Dr. Sarol. Dr. Sarol is joining us in FB.
Okay.
He has some comments.
Okay.
Hindi, tama rin. I mean, we have the same, he's also saying the same thing, na because hindi siya, kasi may mga statements na causal nga naman dito no? Pero hindi naman napakita talaga doon sa results, di ba? Hello daw, Dr. Sarol. Nakikita niya tayo in the video. So, yon. So, be careful. Parang, basahin mo na lang yung comment niya. May comment siya
In job satisfaction study, they attempted to use this as a causal factor to faculty staying/leaving. Here we have a classic example of survivor bias in the use of the cross-sectional design. Knowing this, I would rather not make a causal statement in the conclusion.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. Ang ganda ng pagkasabi niya, no? Okay, so thank you. So again, yun yung sinasabi natin kanina na dapat kung ano yung nilagay nyo kasi sa purpose, hindi nyo nasa results, hindi nyo nasa conclusion. Hindi ka mag-go beyond what you asked or what you intended for the study to study. No? Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the last but not the least, medyo urong tayo doon kasi naka-landscape po.
Okay, good morning po. Okay, this is our research entitled Leadership Attributes of the Associate Dean of Nursing of the School of Nursing and Allied Health Sciences of St. Paul University, Philippines, as the nursing program was recognized to be the only center of excellence in Region 2. Okay. Too many leaders are not born but made, according to Basel Pass 2008, ignited the curiosity of the researchers to study the leadership attributes of the Associate Dean of Nursing of the SNARSH SPUP. Purpose: this study is designed to find out the essential leadership qualities of the Associate Dean of the Nursing Program of St. Paul University, Philippines. And the participant of this study comprises of the Associate Dean itself. It's a simple qualitative analysis. And the result, simple qualitative analysis, was utilized for the data.